Welcome to another tier maker. I'm your host, Wheeler Dealer. Haven't done one of these in a while, and I found this list and I thought this would be a fun one. We're ranking 80s cartoons. 1980. What a fun decade to be a kid. Not that I would know. I'm really, really young. Okay, I'm not. I'm kind of old. I was an 80s kid. And there wasn't Cartoon Network. There wasn't... I mean, you basically watched what you could watch. So the cartoons that were on, some of them sucked. There was no CG cartoons. There weren't channels dedicated to kids programming other than the Disney Channel. So you watched what you could, and you found something to enjoy in it one way or another. And sometimes they sucked, but you still watched them anyway because it was better than watching your parents' TV or soap operas or whatever. So there are some really fun cartoons in here, and then there's a few I haven't seen. So I will rank them, in my opinion, from S tier to F tier. This is not the be-all end-all. I am not an expert. I just grew up and watched a lot of cartoons. So with that, let's get going. Alvin and the Chipmunks. I hated the way it was a musical. There's always songs in it because they're chipmunks, but they're rock stars, and there never really was much drama in it. It was just the three of them arguing and trying not to get in trouble with Dave. And then there were some female chipmunks that they worked in, and it was fine. It was something to watch. It was definitely like C or D tier for me. It's funny that brand has stayed around as long as it has, and that there's been movies recently on them, like within the last 10 years. So for me, it was D at best. Like, I would watch it, but it was always like it's trying to be hip, and you could tell like parents like wrote it. It just had this weird aura about it. D tier. The better episodes, maybe C minus. Not really a fan. Chat says it was meh, says Krog. Fair. Krog, I'm definitely going to take your opinions in here for sure. DuckTales. DuckTales was about as S tier as it's ever going to get. DuckTales shouldn't have worked. Scrooge McDuck, not a sympathetic character. But for some reason, the travels that he would go on, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and all the other characters, I loved watching DuckTales. And it didn't hurt that the NES had a video game called DuckTales, and it was amazing. Right? One of the best tie-in video games from an 80s anything. It's hard. It's a hard game. But boy, was it cool. Great cartoon. Good writing. And they made Scrooge McDuck a sympathetic character somehow. I don't know how they did it. So fun. I could honestly sit and watch DuckTales right now and just zone out on it, and I would enjoy it a lot. Not edgy, just fun. Total S. Classic Alvin was nice. Yeah. Don't remember any story, just the tropes. Yeah, like, what was the point of any of the Alvin and the Chipmunks? They're trying to get to a concert, but they're late. Like, who wants to see these chipmunks at a concert anyway? Alright, Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends. This wasn't on TV very long, if I remember correctly. It was okay. Oh, DuckTales. Amazing theme song. Iconic. Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends. I never really got to watch much of this, but I did a little bit. It was weird because they try to do like continuing storylines sometimes, if I remember correctly. And it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, chat, YouTube, if I'm misremembering this a little bit. I just know that I would watch this every once in a while when it was on, and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening. It's Spider-Man. He's fighting a bad guy, right? But they were trying to, yeah. It was fine, but it's not the Mimi Spider-Man from the 70s, and it's not like the more recent animated Spider-Man movies that are amazing. So C, I think, is it's not very memorable for Spider-Man, unfortunately. Chef, C or low B for Spider-Man. Yeah, that's fair. I think I could go low B. Voltron. Voltron was one of those, I don't know if it was animated in Japan, but it had that feel of Japanese animation. Every episode is exactly the same. Every episode. And you're a kid, and all you're waiting for is form the frickin' Voltron. But when they did, it was awesome. B tier. You know it's coming. You're waiting for Voltron to form. Form Voltron. Hurry up. Get to it. I want robot battles of people I would hate to be like the left leg. Like, such a thankless job on the left leg. My brother had one of the Voltron, like one of the hands, but we didn't have all the others, and it was just pointless. Voltron was and there are quite a few on here that they were means to sell toys. And if you only have one, you're just worthless. Because what are you going to do with one? It's a little tiger. Spider-Man was a B for you, but you love Marvel. Well, yeah, I guess. Corsair, you got it. I'll form the head. MC Frontalot. Yeah. Ever tell you about the time I met Frontalot? Ever tell you about the time I did his Kickstarter and he wrote a mini little song for me? We talk about MC Frontalot. Love the front. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is S tier, and I don't want to hear anything about it. The Turtles are still huge because they started so strongly. They were so good that you have to respect where they started in the 80s. Turtles. S tier. I will go through at the end and I will choose which S tiers are higher. But as of right now, it's S tier and there's no second place. The video game, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, the very first one on NES, was so hard and not broken, but not easy at all. Very difficult. But then Turtles in Time and the 4-player Turtles games, like some of the best brawlers. Oh god, they're so good. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the cartoon, and it's a great cartoon. It's so fun. Love the characters in it. Love the voice acting. Fantastic. So, Adventures of the Gummy Bears. Never watched it. Whoa! Krog! 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much.
KRZOGRR gifted a tier 1 sub to Spookermang.
Haven't seen Gummy Bears. Never watched it. Don't know if it's any good. No clue. Krog in chat says Gummies is an A. Love that one. Another great theme song. I'll have to go and check it out. I'll have to go and go to YouTube and see if I can see an episode or hear the theme song. I can tell you, honestly, I've never even seen it. So it's not like one of those where I'll hear the theme song and go, oh, that one. No. Never saw a single episode. I also never really saw much of the Care Bears. I can't rank Care Bears. I did not like the Care Bears because they don't shoot stuff. They don't blow stuff up. They don't fight. So I didn't want anything to do with Care Bears. If that tells you anything. Zombies, what are you talking about? Muppet Babies. All right, Muppet Babies is... God, it's an S tier. I don't know if you know anything about Muppet Babies. It shouldn't have worked. But my brother and I watched Muppet Babies every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We'd get up, we'd get our bowl of cereal, and we'd sit there and watch Muppet Babies. 2 episodes back to back. And he freaking loved Muppet Babies. And I liked it too, even though I was a little older. It was not aimed at me. It was aimed at kids my brother's age. But it was a fun cartoon to watch. And I had a little Rolf the dog puppet. And we would always watch it with Rolf. Such a wholesome little show, and the fact that they were having all this fun and daydreaming all these adventures when they were basically stuck in their playroom, something about that rang true to me, I guess, as a kid. So Muppet Babies is S tier, and if you've never seen it, check out an episode. It's very of its time, but I don't think it will age poorly. Shirt Tales. I never saw Shirt Tales. I also never saw Munchie-Chi. Let's go through a few of these real quick while I'm here. What is this? Wheeled Warriors. Jace Wheeled Warriors. I don't know what that is, but it looks cool. Haven't seen it. Camp Candy I have. Okay. Visionaries. I never watched it, although I've seen those toys with the chests. They were just meant to sell toys. Never saw it. Dino Riders. Never saw that one. Defenders of the Earth. I've never seen that. There's a few in here I haven't seen. Sorry. I think the rest of these I have seen. Chippendales Rescue Rangers, Thundercat. Okay, I've seen the rest. Dungeons and Dragons. Oh my gosh. Dungeons and Dragons. I'm putting it as an A, but it's probably a high A. It's so weird because they weren't trying to sell you stuff and they just made characters, but it was really fun as a cartoon. It was really good. I enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons, the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. And if I booted it up right now and watched it, I would probably feel like I'm 9 years old again. So, yeah, A tier for me on that one. Super Friends. Super Friends. Yeah, it's A. I can't go any lower than A. Super Friends was so much fun. Talk about underutilizing some of these characters like Batman. It was a lot of Superman. But that's okay. Superman was fun. Cartoons were great. Have I done a tier maker for sitcoms? I haven't, but I don't know that I've seen a ton of sitcoms. I've never really watched a lot of sitcoms. It would have to be, yeah, it would be a list I would probably put a lot of haven't watched. Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, at the Halls of Justice. Mask. Okay, this is a tough one. Mask is a cartoon that I wanted to watch so bad, but it was on at 3:30 every day. And I got out of grade school at 3:30, and no matter how fast I would run home, I could only see maybe half of it because I was about a 15 minutes from home, and I would walk to school, and I could not get home in time to really catch the first half. The good news is, Mask, also, kind of like Voltron, the ending is the same in every single one, and it's one of those shows that was made to sell toys. But they did sell toys. It was a car that transforms into a jet. It's a truck that transforms into a base. It was Transformers, but they didn't transform into robots. They just transformed into other vehicles. It's totally a knockoff. I loved that show, and I loved the combat and the animation and the cars transforming into other vehicles. I loved Mask. I'll tell you, I tried to watch an episode maybe 10 years ago. It's not a good cartoon. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to put it as a C, but in my heart, deep down, the nostalgia would have had it as a low S or a high A. But it is not a cartoon that has aged well. It's rough. It is nostalgia glasses only. And without those glasses, it's C. Made to sell toys. Doesn't that describe all of the 80s? Hey, some of these didn't. Like Dungeons and Dragons wasn't here to sell toys. Super Friends, you know, they were licensing characters, but they weren't there to sell toys. No, some of these were plushes that they were trying to sell and everything. By and large, yes. Everything was commercialized. Isn't every cartoon, well, not every cartoon's here to sell anything at first, and then they explode, and then now it's, you know, you can buy SpongeBob everything, right? She-Ra, Princess of Power. So She-Ra and He-Man Masters of the Universe are one and the other. They just wanted to make, you know, Masters of the Universe, A tier, and it's high A. I can't go S tier, but it's pretty high A. It was one of those shows that we watched a lot of Masters of the Universe. Does any of it make any sense? No, it's totally ridiculous, but Skeletor was like one of the best bad guys in any cartoon in the 80s, by far. A tier. She-Ra, Princess of Power, it lacked the other characters, like the personalities of some of the other side characters. You don't remember most of them because it was just the She-Ra show with a couple of other characters. I'm putting that as a C, if only because it was a spin-off for Masters of the Universe and it was never as good. Now, it wasn't aimed at me. They aimed it at little girls, but having said that, I watched some episodes. That was always the joke, like, don't let your brother catch you watching She-Ra, Princess of Power. Watch whatever you want, who cares? Have you ever watched the final episode of Dungeons and Dragons that never aired? No! I have to see this. Heathcliff. Heathcliff the cat. Oh, they're so bad. I'm sorry. Heathcliff was an F. We all know Heathcliff is just a Garfield ripoff. Right? And the show was just... He liked to eat fish instead of lasagna. Terrible. Now you talk about Garfield. Garfield and Friends is way up here. Is it S tier? I don't know. Yeah, it is. It's S tier. Garfield and Friends S tier. Odie, John, come on, man. Normal, let's get it going. Garfield and Friends. If Garfield and Friends was on, we stopped what we were doing. And we watched some freaking Garfield and Friends. Don't at me right now. You can in the chat, you can. Heathcliff came first. No. Heathcliff is like GoBots. Heathcliff is not a Garfield ripoff. Wow. Wow. You know, it's too bad, though, because what cartoon was better? Heathcliff sucked as a cartoon. Maybe the character's older, but it wasn't a fun cartoon. It was terrible. And Garfield was awesome. But I take back that I said that Heathcliff ripped off Garfield. That clearly was incorrect. Thank you, chat, for correcting me. That's why you're here. I'm glad you're here. I don't care if Heathcliff was from the 20s. Garfield and Friends was way better. There should have been a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon. Nope. Nope. Don't want it. Calvin and Hobbes was the most perfect comic strip of all time, and it exists just as that thing, and I don't want to see it animated ever. I don't even like seeing the stickers on cars because they're all ripoffs. Talk about anti-commercialism at its finest. Bill Watterson, the best. Garfield rules. That's right. Okay. The Snorks. It's D tier, and God, it's just I didn't like the Snorks. Tell me if I'm wrong, chat. Snorks, eh. Lasagna, thumbs up. Monday, thumbs down. Krog, yeah, I've got the big compendium with all of them in the hardbound. My dad got it for me for Christmas a long time ago. It's the best. The Hobbs plushies alone, I mean, the day Bill Watterson dies, they're going to bombard plushies. And people have done Etsy's of Hobbs plushies. If you want one, you can buy one on Etsy. Snorks is meh. Yeah, it's just meh. Rainbow Bright. Never watched it. I'm sorry. It was a little too out of my... I didn't have any reason to want to watch it. Nothing's blowing up. There's no fights. We're going to do Transformers and GoBots back to back. Now, Transformers is S tier, and it's the top of S tier, and don't at me. GoBots was by far a terrible cartoon. It was animated cheaply. It was meant to basically be Transformers. The whole joke of something being the GoBots of something that is in Clerks 2 is because it's a cheap Kmart knockoff. Get it out of here. F tier on Challenge of the GoBots. I don't want it. If you got a GoBot, it was probably from one of your grandparents who was like, hey, he likes these toys. They were trying their best. It's not their fault. You didn't want it. You had to pretend. This isn't from personal experience at all. You had to pretend that you were happy about it. But that GoBot sat in the bottom of the toy drawer, got no love, while you were pining for Megatron for decades, until you finally got a job that paid you well enough to where you could afford to spend whatever it took on eBay to order Megatron. That's actually not entirely true. A friend of mine in a white elephant exchange bought me a Megatron on eBay and gave it to me in a white elephant because I told him I always wanted a Megatron and I never got one, but I did get Optimus Prime one year from my dad, and Optimus Prime was pretty badass, but he wasn't a gun. The fact that they sold a toy that looked exactly like a gun tells you how awesome the 80s were. Okay. Strawberry Shortcake. Didn't watch it. Gem and the Holograms. Did watch it. It's kind of there with She-Ra. It's fine. It's fine. They're in a rock band. Very 80s looking. Very 80s colors. Look at those colors. But it didn't really have much happening in it. No, not everything needs to blow up. Not every show needs stuff to blow up. True. What is this one? Silverhawks. I have not seen Silverhawks. Bravestar. So Bravestar was like a cowboy who had this talking horse as a partner. This show is a guilty pleasure. I'm putting it as a B. Bravestar is not one of those shows that I made a point to watch, but when it was on, oh my god, we laughed at it. How dumb it was. But it was like it knew it was kind of dumb. Go look at YouTube and look up an episode of Bravestar. You're going to be like, who greenlit this? But it's kind of funny. And a B is probably a little high for it. It's probably a low B or a high C, but it is just funny. I don't understand how that even got made. Thundar the Barbarian. This is D. For me right now. Now, if I went back and watched it, maybe my memory would be a little bit different. Kind of didn't care for Thundar the Barbarian. Barbarians as cartoons are kind of boring for the most part. Like, give me Conan the Barbarian, R-rated cartoon. I'll watch that. That's like Heavy Metal, the animated series Heavy Metal. Camp Candy. So this was a cartoon based on John Candy. And it was okay. It's very C tier. It wasn't horrible, but it was funny the way he basically had his back and forth with the kids. It was almost like someone said, hey, let's kind of make meatballs, but it's younger kids, and John Candy is the camp counselor. And it was okay. I don't know if they made very many episodes, but when it was on, we watched it. Thundar was bad. I knew it wasn't good and still enjoyed it. There's fun bad, right? Bravestar to me is fun bad. Pac-Man as a cartoon. It's C, and I almost feel like it should be D. But for some reason, we loved Pac-Man so much as a game that just watching the cartoon was enough. I'm talking about commercialism right there. The Super Mario Brothers Super Show. A tier, but mostly because the live action intros and outros with Captain Lou Albano as Mario. What were they thinking? Oh, the 80s were so weird, dude. They were so weird. You've seen it. You've seen it. Tell me you've seen it. I don't know if I'm going to get DMCA'd. I'm going to do it. We're gonna watch the intro. Super Mario Brothers Super Show. You've probably seen this before. And you've probably heard the song.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show! With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game. We're not like the others who get all the fame. If your sink is in trouble, you can call us on the double. We're faster than the others, you'll be hooked on the brothers.
Hooked on Brothers.
Yo, you're in for a treat, so hang on to your seat. Get ready for adventure and remarkable feats.
But that's not Captain Lou, is it?
The princess and the others. Hanging with the plumbers, you'll be hooked on the brothers. To the bridge.
To the bridge. I know they did. They reference this in the new movie. One of the best parts of the movie.
The brothers.
The brothers. Super Mario Brothers Super Show. So fun. And the animation wasn't bad. That's nothing like the new movie, of course. Dennis the Menace. God, I wanted to punch him. Like, he just... like dog. A cartoon about a kid that annoys his old neighbor. How is that a thing that was even on TV? Why was that a comic strip? Not for me. Clearly. Bad. Yeah. Yeah, Toko, he got his fire flower get up when he touched the invincibility star. F tier. You're putting Dennis the Menace as F tier. I can watch it. I could watch it and be like, okay. That's how I am with these other ones. Like, I'm not going to change the channel. If Heathcliff is on, change the channel. Go outside and play. GoBots on? Go outside and play. I'd rather go outside and play than watch GoBots. Smurfs. Smurfs. I don't understand Smurfs, and yet we watched a lot of it. It's B tier. It is. The Smurfs cartoon was iconic. We had a gym teacher who was really short, and we called him Papa Smurf behind his back. And if he ever heard you call him Papa Smurf, you got instant detention. Just something about the Smurfs and Smurfette and Gargamel and Azrael. I still remember these characters. It's burned into my brain. Early 80s cartoons, so weird. Liked them. Smurfs is B. You could argue in either direction. Maybe it's an A for you. Maybe it's even an S for you. Maybe it's a C or D. Maybe you were annoyed by it. I just think I got to split between the two. It's not an F. On anyone's books, you cannot call the Smurfs an F. There's no way. Smurf that. Yeah, changing out the word Smurf for everything. Smurfs are S or A. Okay, you're going that direction. Riz says it was fine. Zombie says I like Smurfs. Smurfs was fun. It was good. It's definitely a B tier. Is it high B? Yeah, I would put it above Voltron and Bravestar for sure. Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. This cartoon is incredibly stupid, guilty pleasure, and it is A tier, somewhere in the A tier. I couldn't wait for Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling to come on, and they would do live intros sometimes. In fact, maybe all the time. With some of the wrestlers. Speaking of Captain Lou Albano, who played Mario in... Who was the cast? Was it not Captain Lou Albano? I got it. Thank you. Yeah, come on. Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling. So funny and stupid. You had Hillbilly Jim, you had Andre the Giant, and some of them were bad guys, but they were never really that bad. But like seeing the wrestlers that I liked watching in animated form, and the way they feuded all the time, and then by the end they all worked together to do something. Like, it was so cheeseball. I love it. It's such a guilty pleasure. If you could watch Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling right now, I think you'd enjoy it. Had no idea Hulk Hogan had a cartoon. He did. Check it out. I bet YouTube has some episodes. Cops. Haven't watched it. Police Academy, the cartoon series. F tier. I don't even know how that got made. I don't. Mr. T. D. Like it. I love Mr. T. We all loved Mr. T back then. I watched the A-Team every week. Mr. T cereal. Not bad. Kind of like Captain Crunch, but with T's instead of the little thing. It's fine. Mr. T cartoon. I don't really have a memory of that cartoon that stuck with me, or anything other than Mr. T had a cartoon. It was very much just a licensing thing. You think you've seen a couple episodes of that? His songs. Mr. T had songs on it? Oh, God. I don't even remember that. G.I. Joe. S tier. Just like Transformers, G.I. Joe and Transformers were two of my favorite cartoons growing up because it was lots of fighting and shooting lasers, but no one ever hitting anything. Like, they had the worst aim in history. But they had Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and Lady J. Oh my God. Come on. Roadblock. And if you've seen the memes of the G.I. Joe, all the funny G.I. Joes where they like fake dubbed over them. I don't even remember, is it Fenster Films? There's someone who made a bunch of those. Tell me y'all have seen them. I'm gonna pull up a couple on YouTube because you have to see these.
Billy, you think I can have some more?
Yeah, we should totally hit it again, but I get first dibs on it.
To me come off, what's me nearly dead with laugh. I watch it people rush the door like a bash a chuck up. Fun time there, time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Sunshine there, a time for the bus ride. Fun time there, a time for the bus ride. No!
G.I. Joe!
Hey, Kevin! How do we play this game?
I'm glad you guys skipped the class today. We're having fun, aren't we?
I want to play video games.
We had a good conversation. No. You You're the ringleader. Oh, we're going to find this and go get them.
what's going on? What the hell?
We're going to step back in the school. Do you
wanna
understand
get in the
that? We're going to
fridge,
step back
too.
in the school so they think you're my business. You know what I mean?
If you've seen the original, he's like, they're looking for their friend and he got trapped in a fridge. And so that dude shows up and like helps him out of the fridge. But they reversed it to make it look like he's putting him in the fridge. And the whole time, I'm sorry. Those are some of the funniest freaking things. Whoever made those, absolute genius. Okay, we're almost done here. You're the ringleader. In you go. All right, there's only a few left. My eyes are bugging me. Inspector Gadget. Here's the thing. Here's the problem I have with Inspector Gadget. It's a D. The bad guy is iconic.
Maybe my death metal voice is kind of like the bad guy in that show.
Inspector Gadget was basically whatever they would write themselves into plot-wise, he would just have something that would get him out of it, that would just pop out of his hands or his butt or whatever. And it's like, really? Like, he's never in any danger. He can just fly his way out of there. So, not that any of these characters are ever in any danger, but you know what I'm saying? It was just one of those shows that, I mean, if it would have had like some sort of, hey, he's solving crimes or whatever, it just wasn't that fun to watch. Oh, Riz just redeemed demonic voice.
Next time, Gadget. Next time.
It wasn't that good. It's better than the live action though with Matthew Broderick. I had never saw that movie. Simpsons. God dang, this is so tough because I'm not someone that holds The Simpsons in this really high regard. The fact that the show is still on today is amazing. The fact that the show, and everyone says, "Oh, I missed when it was good." Doesn't matter. It's still on the air. Talk about just content on top of content. And when Simpsons is good, it's like the best. When it's bad, it's still watchable. When I was a kid, I didn't really watch The Simpsons much. It was one of those shows that my mom and my stepdad watched like all the time. And it was on like in the evenings. So I was already like a sophomore in high school when it came out, or a freshman in high school, and I was not really watching shows that were on in the evenings. So I never really watched The Simpsons back then. Having said that, it's almost weird to put this as a cartoon in the 80s because it was primetime TV. And all the other shows that are on here were morning, like Saturday morning, Sunday morning cartoons. So Simpsons is tough. We're talking 80s Simpsons, which means it's S tier. Yeah, Krog, I agree with Krog in chat. It's S tier, but it doesn't really fit on this list. That's my problem with it. On this list, it's not an 80s cartoon when you think of 80s cartoons because it was a primetime show. Having said that, it's on this list and I can't not put it S tier. Like, there's no way you can't. The first few seasons of The Simpsons were so iconic. I own them on DVD. I've watched them. I've watched every episode of like the first few seasons because I have the box sets that that Fox sold. It was just such a great show with great characters, incredible writing. How do you not give it an S tier? But to Krog's point in chat, these are 80s like Sunday morning, Saturday morning cartoons. That's not what that was. All right, just a few more, and my dog's telling me it's time for bed. So, Thundercats. I did not like Thundercats much. It was watchable. It's C tier, but it's just kind of meh. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers was fun. It's a B for me. No way is it anywhere near DuckTales, but it's up there. Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers was kind of like trying to be like DuckTales, and you never know what they were going to get into any episode, which was fun. But it was okay. B is fair for that one. You know it. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, I liked it more than any of these other shows on here. So if I'm ranking these, Smurfs is above Voltron. Brave Stars behind all those, but those are all B. And lastly, Real Ghostbusters. Man, My brother loved this show, and I liked it because we loved the Ghostbusters movies and we wanted more of it. And we got it every weekend. So Slimer being like a pet mascot was fun. It's almost A tier. Yeah, it's like low A for me. I would put it ahead of Super Friends, but that's about it. The rest of these probably need to be higher than it. So, there's the list. How are you feeling about it? For me, S tier, it's Transformers, G.I. Joe, Turtles, Muppet Babies and Garfield and Friends are both in there. Simpsons and DuckTales. I'll put Simpsons ahead of DuckTales. I mean, honestly, Simpsons should probably be at the top of the list, but that's just, these aren't morning cartoons, man. Where's DBZ? Wasn't out in the 80s, bro. Was it? The original Dragon Ball, maybe late 80s? A tier. Masters of the Universe is the highest I'm going to rank on all of these. I should probably put Real Ghostbusters ahead of Super Mario Brothers, but anytime any of these shows was on the air, we made a point to watch them, including Super Friends, although I think it was the last on this list for us. Chippendale, Smurfs. It's hard to say Chippendales and not think of the male strippers. Chippendales, Rescue Rangers, Smurfs, Voltron, and Brave Star. Brave Star, go watch a trailer for it, and you're going to laugh. It's actually really fun. C tier. Spider-Man, high C tier. Mask, out of nostalgia, but it's really not a great show. I like Gem better than She-Ra, but neither one of them was incredible. Pac-Man's low C. In fact, I would actually should put it below Thundercats. And Camp Candy was kind of fun. Like I said, that wasn't on the air very long. D tier. Mr. T is up there. I did watch it whenever it was on. It just wasn't a very good show. But it was an excuse to get the cereal. The original Dragon Ball aired in 89. Yeah, that's on the cusp. Look, I never saw it because it wasn't on the air where I was. Alvin and the Chipmunks, I watched a lot of it. I'll put it there. Inspector Gadget can be above Snorks, but the rest of these are just no. And then Heathcliff, Challenge of the GoBots, and Police Academy, the cartoon show. Come on, man, get out of here. Heathcliff may have come before Garfield, but Garfield perfected it. The orange cat that ate lasagna. The memes have never stopped. No one remembers Heathcliff. Just because you're first doesn't mean you're better. I'm talking like I have a bone to pick. I really don't care. I just thought the show was boring. Alright, that's my list. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, what is your favorite out of this entire list? And don't say Simpsons. That's cheating. What's your favorite out of the rest of the list? Is it something in my S tier? Is it something lower? Did I underrank the F tiers? Did you like GoBots? Don't say you like GoBots more than Transformers. Don't lie to me. But is there something lower that you would have ranked higher? Let me know in the comments. And otherwise, chat, thank you for hanging out tonight. Appreciate it. This has been another Tier Maker, 80s Cartoons. I'm your host, Wheeler Dealer. Thank you so much. Have a great night.